Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Flames. The Flames have now fallen to two non-playoff contending teams in their last three games. What is going wrong? How can they fix it? And how can they bounce back on Friday's game against the Arizona Coyotes? All that and more on today's episode of Locked On Flames.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. As always, I'm your host, Jess Belmosto of the Metropolitan Riveters Public Relations team. Hope you're having a fantastic day today. How are you? Thank you so much for making Locked On Flames your first listen of the day. As always, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts for free. Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, Audible, Odyssey, you name it. And of course on YouTube as well. And if it's free, it's for me. So you know I tune into all the other Locked On podcasts as well. What on earth happened to the Flames last night? They had that cushy lead there, with goals from Johnny Gaudreau, Dylan Dubé to go up 2-0. And then they cut the lead in half, 2-1. And then Backlund secures it, right? He makes it 3-1 rather. And then they just start to fall, right? They fell asleep at the wheel. They collapsed in a way that we have not seen in quite some time. And it was very, disheartening to say the least. I think that we've seen the Flames kind of ride this high of success this season. So when they regress back to Jeff Ward hockey, it's very discouraging. And we're going to dissect all of this right now because I knew there was a very specific moment where I could pinpoint this game going ugly. And that would be when Markstrom's issues started with his equipment in the first period. He let in a routine goal, and it was either before or right after he had issues with his equipment. And the trainer came out and to look at it, but it still didn't feel right. And you could tell Markstrom was frustrated. Like, he looked very, just uncomfortable, I guess. And, like when you walk with a rock, like a little pebble in your shoe, and you're hustling and bustling and you can't get down the street fast enough. You can't take your shoe off to get the stinking rock out. That's what it reminded me of. Just that discomfort, and like you want to fix it, but you don't know if you can and how you can. But he was growing so frustrated. He let in a very routine goal, and even it got by him, and he was like, what did I just do? Like, he fell asleep in the net. And then he ended up spearing a Sharks player. So Jacob Markstrom just was very frustrated, was very temperamental. He was not having any of it last night. And he even said in his post-game presser that he did not play well. And I'm glad that he recognizes that, because I think a lot of players could just kind of go out there and say, my defense didn't play well. My players weren't crashing the net. So this isn't on me. Especially Jacob Markstrom, who's had an elite season, But the night just unraveled through all three periods. Like, after that incident with Markstrom's equipment, it just started spiraling, and the Flames could not get themselves together. And in Shane Stevenson's Behind the Box score article, he notes that the Flames weren't attacking the crease the way that they normally do. And I'm going to read a quote from the article. The Sharks did prioritize crease crashing, and they did it on a good night. Markstrom was not himself. As such as it resulted in two goals from a high danger area, 28 seconds apart in the third period. Calgary did have quite the push in the last 2 minutes with the goaltender pulled, but did not succeed. And I think that it's very easy to sit here and get frustrated, right? Like, how are you going to lose again to the Sharks, especially this late in the season when you have just made some really great acquisitions at the trade deadline? What is the excuse? There isn't one. But the Flames just did not play like themselves last night. Now, I don't know. I don't have an excuse for it. Did they just get lazy? Did they not want to play well? And I just I don't have an excuse, and I don't think that there is one. Daryl Sutter was so frustrated that he did not go out and do a post-game press conference. So I can only imagine what was said post-game in the locker room to those players. He actually sent out I read Kristen Anderson's tweets. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning my time, and she was just tweeting about how Sutter didn't come out and how he sent out the most happy-go-lucky guy in the organization, and that sends a real message. I think anytime a coach doesn't come out to talk to the media, that's saying everything that we need to know. We saw that a lot, like during the pandemic. Obviously coaches can't go out there if they're in protocol, but after a loss like that, there is absolutely no way Sutter was going to speak to the media. None of the players should. I mean, the players should because they need to answer for themselves. Like, the coach can only do so much, but the players were just not up to par with where they should have been. And it is disappointing. It's discouraging. It's quite defeating when you have that cushy lead and then you allow 3 unanswered goals. And they did have that nice, final push in the last, I think it was like 84 seconds, like technically speaking. But they couldn't do it. They couldn't tie it up. They couldn't go to overtime. They couldn't take away a point. And instead, they, again, were served a slice of humble pie. And I hope that they remember this. And we're going to talk more about it. But moving forward, you need to start applying pressure. You need to perform. You just cannot lose like that to non-contending teams or to contending teams. It is just fully unacceptable. Coming up next, we're going to talk about who's performing, who's hot, who's not, and really look at how some of these players performed last night. But before we do that, let's hear from HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip the trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. I love HelloFresh, okay? As a college student who works part-time, who does hockey podcasting, public relations, who always needs to be somewhere, it is so nice to be able to just like go on and click my meals for the week and not have to worry about grocery shopping. HelloFresh offers 50 menu and market items to choose from every week, including vegetarian, fit, and wholesome, family-friendly, and gourmet options, providing plenty of variety, and it's a great way to switch up what you're eating. I go to my classic meal is chicken teriyaki over frozen vegetables and rice every week, but with HelloFresh, I've gotten to really expand that horizon and have like flatbread pizzas. Like, I wouldn't think to myself, like, oh, I'm going to make a flatbread pizza this week. But with HelloFresh, they give you the opportunity and it saves me so much time. I cannot tell you how much I love just like sitting there on like a Saturday or Sunday and scrolling through the website with my boyfriend and being like, what do you want for dinner this week? And I love how little prep it is. I hate spending unnecessary time like just doing all the stuff. They come pre-marinated. It's fantastic. And HelloFresh is 72% cheaper than a restaurant meal of the same quality. And you can save time and money without going to the grocery store. So go to hellofresh.com/lockedon16 and use code LOCKEDON16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That is hellofresh.com/lockedon16, promo code LOCKEDON16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. It's I highly recommend it. It comes highly recommended. It's America's #1 meal kit for a reason. And so, head on over to hellofresh.com/lockedon16, promo code LOCKEDON16. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. Who's hot? Who's not? Let's start with the sneaky hotness, okay? Last night on the broadcast, Cassie Campbell made an excellent point about Dylan Dubé and saying that he is playing some of his best hockey. And I had to sit back and think for a minute. There was a reason he wasn't moved at the deadline. There was a reason why the Flames, weren't trying to get stronger at a depth position because they believe in Dylan Dubé. Now, Dubé has kind of played all over the lineup this year and has used the versatility to his own strengths. And I think with that, we're seeing him play center, we're seeing him play wing. He is pretty vital, he can slot in wherever. And, just like the same way that we talk about Yarncroc and Toffoli, just about how, their versatility plays a big part in their role. Dubé is still young. So, I'm very sorry for all the things I've said about Dylan Dubé, about reaching his ceiling. But when I sat back and thought about it for a true minute, I realized that I think part of his quote-unquote staggered development can be accounted for by poor coaching his first few years of time in the NHL, So now he has to unlearn bad habits that he had made a routine. And now he's really trying to prosper as an athlete and take his game to new heights. And I give Dubé so much credit. He's talked about how Daryl Sutter has changed his experience and why he's a better player. So I do think that a lot of players respect Sutter. And I think that just goes to show you, even though it's been a while since Sutter is coached, players still like him. He still has his magic. And I am very happy to see that he is, obviously scoring goals, but he is able to kind of be the new Sam Bennett in terms of playing where he's needed and where they see fit. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I think that Sam Bennett, his time truly did come to an end. Like, there was a true, definitive moment when his time in Calgary came to an end. But, Dubé's still young. I think he's 23, 24 years old. And he's such a nice guy too. Like, you just want to root for him. And I think that he really will continue to prosper, especially in this system. I don't think that the Flames would have kept him if they didn't see true potential in him. And then this is a weird one to talk about for who's not hot, because these players are usually the ones playing their best hockey, right? So Johnny Gaudreau and Elias Lindholm were outshot and outscored on 5-on-5 hockey last night, which is very unusual. And as top-line players, you have to perform better, and you truly have to outperform your opponents. And I don't think that there's really ever any doubt that they can. But for whatever reason, last night was just not their night. And I know that Johnny scored a goal. I understand that. I think a lot of you are probably saying to yourself, Jess, are you kidding me? Johnny scored, the first goal of the night, and now he's a goal shy of 30. Well, yes, but I am, for my reference points of this episode, I used Beyond the Box Score, which Shane puts out every late night, morning after Flames game. And they are a great way to truly look at the game. So he does Corsi King and Corsi Clown, which is Corsi is a way, it's one of those advanced analytics, but it's I'm not entirely sure how to explain it. I believe this is like high danger chances and kind of like one of the defensive mechanic things, but it is really anytime you're looking at advanced analytics, you want to be above 50%. Anytime you're looking at them, if you're below 50, you stunk. So Elias Lindholm was at a 39.46 and Johnny was at a 49.75. And they weren't able to generate shooting chances the way that they normally can, right? Which is very odd, especially because the Sharks, they're not that good of a team. They're in that rebuild phase and they're just not good. So I have to say that you do need to be playing at a different level when you're going out there and playing. If I looked at this and said that's how you're gonna perform in the playoffs, that's embarrassing. And there was a quote Daryl Sutter had a few weeks ago saying, it was like last week, he said, if we have to play Colorado in the first round, it's going to be a waste of 5 days or 8 days and 5 games, he knows that this team can go out there and look bad and not compete with their opponents. So look at that. Look at each game the same way that Sutter does, are these players playing up to performance? Would they be able to go out there and hang with Nate McKinnon and Gabe Landeskog and Cale Makar? Are they able to go out there and push and perform? Because I don't know if they could. After last night, I don't know. I did not like a single thing that I saw from this team last night. But, I have hope that things will, look better, especially as we're moving forward. Brett Ritchie finally has a point. So I think that we can really soak in this whole the Flames are getting better movement sort of deal. The Flames are really, really taking it to the next level because of Brett Ritchie's 1 point of the season. And coming up next, we are going to talk about sitting back and reflecting on the next 2 days off in between last night's game against the Sharks and then the next game against another non-contender, the Arizona Coyotes. And before we move on, though, let's have a word from Built Bar. Built Bar, you guys know that I talk about them all the time on this show. They are a delicious tasting protein bar that does not taste like a protein bar. They are covered in 100% chocolate, and they have Built Puffs that are these marshmallowy goodness that everyone loves and can get their hands on when you head on over to built.com. And, scroll through their inventory. If you don't know what you want or what flavors you might like, get a variety pack. I think that I think all the flavors are good. I'm not particularly a mint fan, but my mom really likes the mint flavors. I think that they truly do taste like a candy bar. They're good for you. High in fiber, high in protein, low in carbs, low in calories. It doesn't get much better than that. So head on over to built.com today and use promo code LOCKED15 for your next order of Built Bars. When you're a kid and you get sent to timeout and your parents are like, Go reflect on what you did and figure out why you're in timeout. Yes, look at those bad behaviors and say, was it worth hitting little Billy with my wiffle ball bat? Was it worth, I don't, what do kids do? Do they spit? Do they go blowing raspberries? Was it worth telling another kid to shut up? The flame, that's kind of where the flames are at, right? That's how I look at this. They have these next 2 days to reflect, to sit back and say, what went wrong in that game against the Sharks, the game against the Sabres? How the heck did we perform like that in Vancouver? And put it together. Obviously I'm not saying like there's a difference between reflecting and stewing in the negativity. Like stewing in the negativity would be like Markstrom going out there and like sitting in his hotel room or wherever he's, I don't know, stay home and saying, oh, that stupid goal. That first goal I let in. I shouldn't have, I've saved that goal a million times in practice. Why didn't I do it? Why couldn't I have saved it? No. That's stewing. Reflecting on it is saying, when that exact shot comes next time, I will have it. I will have it because it is a save I've made a million times. And more than likely going to be on the film that Arizona watches. So, I think, Johnny going out there and not really generating the same shooting chances, or, Sean Monahan not cycling the puck well. What can they do to make sure that changes? And that's the difference. Beating yourself up over a loss that's not going to do anything. It's a regular season game against a non-contending team in your division that you've lost to before. You can't go back and change it. You simply can't do that. But they have these next 2 days off to really work towards being a better players in the next game and for the rest of the season. Obviously, ups and downs happen. You're not going to go out there every night and win every single game. That is not statistically, mathematically, physically possible. But why did you take your foot off the gas when you had a 3-2 lead? Like, that is still a close game. Is it closer than 2-0? Yeah. So why are you getting too comfortable? Why did you stop applying pressure? How can you regain and reapply that pressure? And I think that losing to those teams, is a bad, I don't want to say a bad sign, but it just kind of shows you that, like, maybe they're just not performing as well as everyone kind of makes it out to be. But then again, you look at the game against Vancouver and you're like, oh, that's actually like really good Flames hockey. So I don't think that we need to overreact. I don't think that we need to sit here and say, oh my God, the Flames are going to have a first round exit, because I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't see the future. I just know that we have to take this on a game by game basis and look at the behaviors that need to change. And what are your behaviors to win? Obviously crashing the net has been such a huge thing for them this season. Why were they not crashing the net? What was in the way? What was their barrier? And it's so frustrating, like, looking back on that game and seeing and knowing that's where things went wrong. But you can't fester in it. You have to move on and apply those changes to the next game and the game after that and just keep it going, because getting frustrated about it isn't going to change anything. It's just going to make you miserable. So don't do that. Don't be miserable. The Flames are still in first place in the Pacific. So that's really all you can ask for. And it looks like Vegas is having their little moments of being absolute stinky. And now they have a trade voided. And have to figure out their cap space issues, but not my problem, not the Flames' problems. But thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you for making the show the first listen of the day. You can find me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. Make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube as well. Leave us a 5-star rating and a nice little review. In tomorrow's episode, I think we're gonna talk some more about this Arizona game coming up, because I'm not worried, but we need to look at the what ifs and play some hypothetical situations out. So thank you all again, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.